the site, resulting in hundreds of YouTubers taking a massive hit in their revenue in an event called the Adpocalypse. Because of this, most creators were throwing their support behind PewDiePie, and to imply any wrongdoing on his part was to give credence to the advertiser boycott. This was not the only negative thing Quinton had to say about PewDiePie either. Just a month later, he uploaded a video titled Quinton Reviews T-Series,
there's no
which
audio.
requires some more cultural context.
No audio, I'm sorry, dude. No. No audio. I don't want to get copyrighted.
Ignore. He had struck a nerve with his former friend group at a time when they were feeling particularly vulnerable. So in an attempt to clear the air, Quinton decided to hop on State of the YouTube to discuss every single one of his controversies thus far. Interestingly, Mumkey Jones himself was absent from this episode. While it was stated at the beginning that he was
simply unavailable, some viewers suspected that maybe this had been at the request of Quinton.
I don't recall saying no monkey. And maybe someone can dig up a DM. I remember getting in the comment being like, is Monkey gonna be here? And they were like, no, he's not gonna be here. it was many, many years ago, so I might be wrong. But I remember being like, I don't understand why he's not here if I'm supposed to be apologizing to him. So that's my recollection of it, that he just didn't show up.
Over the course of this hour and 20-minute podcast, the three men maintained a fairly cordial, albeit somewhat uncomfortable tone as they discussed everything Quentin had said over the past few months that people took issue with. There were a few things that the ex-commentary YouTuber ceded ground on, apologizing for poking fun at Mumkey after his channel termination, and admitting that he regretted the T-Series video. However, he stood firm on his criticisms of PewDiePie, wondering why he wasn't allowed to have a nuanced take of calling out his poor behavior without being seen as supporting the mainstream media's teardown of YouTube as a whole.
I do agree that they go after him a little too harshly, but I think it's equally bad for people to assume that no one is ever allowed to criticize Felix because the mainstream media criticizes Felix. And I feel like the fact that people have been so unwilling to do this is one of the reasons he keeps making some of these mistakes.
Overall, while they were able to cover a large swath of topics and found a bit of common ground, neither side ultimately shifted their positions. The main thing many of the people in the video's comments were fixated on wasn't even the conversation.
I know they made fun of the fact that I was so close to having a breakdown that I was playing with Transformers, and so they called me Lego Guy because it was all these clicking noises.
Additionally, it sounded as if there are a lot of segments from this podcast that were completely omitted from the final release.
But like Internet Historian was there like constantly trying to like mitigate, but he didn't record his audio, so they cut out huge chunks of our interactions because they didn't make sense.
Even though it appeared that Quentin had buried the hatchet with State of the YouTube from an outsider's perspective, that couldn't have been further from the truth. Mumkey Jones's fanbase still despised him, sending harassing and threatening messages on a daily basis, each one weighing more and more on his mental health. Things eventually hit a breaking point, and Quentin decided to message Mumkey on Twitter to air out his grievances. There was just one problem though. This wasn't the real Mumkey Jones, but rather a parody account created by a fan. The messages were quickly forwarded to the real Mumkey who, feeling no remorse, posted them on Twitter and read them out live on stream.
Hey Mumkey, just wanted to apologize for being mean to you once. And for also being such a F slur. Now I'm not gonna say what this F slur is, folks, but it's a ban-worthy offense, in my opinion. I think it should be. I think it's a disgusting word, and I can't believe Quentin Reviews would use that word in what he thought was a private message to me, but was actually to some random child. So he should not be surprised that now everybody is gonna see this.
People don't understand the timeline because they weren't there from my perspective. The first thing that happened was that people found my parents' address, and then they started going to my parents' house and calling my parents all day, every day, and slamming on my parents' door. And so now I can't go to my parents' house. And now I'm worried about my family's safety. And now I'm worried if they're going to find my apartment and they're going to be doing that to me. I'm scared about going out in public in case I get recognized. I can't go on the internet because people are like sending me anonymous death threats. It got really heated and really bad really, really quickly. And that's when I was trying to turn to my other YouTubers to be like, how do I navigate this? And everyone was like, well, you earned this fate. You know, you. I don't want to be part of this mess. I had a couple mental breakdowns around that time, and I sent out some messages I shouldn't have. And I felt like people just weren't treating me like I was a person. You know, I was really struggling with that moment. And